I stood frozen, her fingers still resting over my chest like she was trying to read something through skin and bone. The name she'd spoken, Valasa, didn't echo in my memory, not even faintly, and yet the way she looked at me, like she was staring through centuries of war, stars, and lifetimes. It made me feel like I was the one forgetting something I shouldn't. Her hand slid away. "You don't remember me yet," she whispered. No emotion, no panic, just calm certainty. Like forgetting her was part of a process I hadn't been briefed on. "What the hell are you?" I finally managed. She tilted her head, as though translating my question in real time. "I was forged on Jindora Prime, in the fire fields of Sector 4E-7. I am an empathic recon construct, bio-cyber hybrid, level ether class. My core protocols were fused with a quantum-bound emotional bond unit, assigned to you." "Assigned to me?" "You were Captain Yarrick Vallon of the Stellan Vow Fleet, Special Division Echo Spiral. You died, or were erased, but the bond remains. Lady, I'm a junkyard loner. I salvage toaster parts for a living. I don't remember any fleets, and I'm not a captain of anything." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Your memory was partitioned by force. Likely by the Vanquora Protocol. I had no idea what the Vanquora Protocol was. I didn't care. Because suddenly alarms started blaring from my junk perimeter. The anti-intrusion rings were flashing amber. I sprinted to the nearest monitor in the shed and slammed my palm on the panel. The satellite view zoomed in on a dark speeder bike convoy, 5 fast-moving silhouettes tearing across the dust. Raiders. The girl, Valasa, stood next to me, watching the screen with detached precision. "They're tracking my descent vector," she said. "I didn't mask it fast enough. They'll kill us both." I turned to her. "If you brought heat down on me, I'll protect you." "How? With your eyes?" She didn't respond. She just walked past me, through the busted door, out into the metal graveyard, like a queen in exile. I followed. The raiders came fast. Their engines shrieked across the salvage field as they circled us like wolves. No words, no warnings. One dismounted, a tall guy with skin like sunburnt leather and one chrome eye. "This sector's sealed by Red Spine Charter," he called. "You're trespassing on restricted salvage." I stepped forward. "I've lived here 9 years. This isn't Red Spine turf." "It is now." And then he saw her, Valasa, and his tone changed. "Well now, what do we have here?" He took 2 steps toward her. "Don't," I warned, but he didn't listen. He reached out, and then she moved. No warning, no sound, just a blur. She hit him with an elbow that sent his body into a twisted spiral mid-air, crashing him into a pile of rusted drone limbs. 2 other raiders drew sidearms. Valasa raised her hand, and the air bent. A field shimmered into existence around us. Their bullets never reached us. They melted into vapor 3 feet away. The sound, it wasn't just a shield. It was gravity in a cage, humming like an angry god. She turned to me. "Do you want them alive?" I blinked. "What? Alive? Or forgotten?" Alive." She nodded like she regretted asking. Within seconds, she'd disabled all of them. Not with brutality, but precision, surgical, flawless. She didn't kill, but she left them with pain they'd carry for weeks. As they crawled back to their bikes, the leader looked up, blood dripping from his chin. "What is she?" I didn't answer. Because truthfully, I didn't know either. The sky turned pale green by morning. I was back in the shed, pacing. Valasa sat on the edge of a decommissioned mining mech, watching me with that same patient stillness. "I don't remember you," I said for the 10th time. "I know." "Why me?" She leaned forward slightly. "Because I was programmed to find you, no matter the cost. My primary directive is connection, not combat. You just crushed a raiding party. Defending the bond is not the same as breaking it. I sat down across from her. You say we were, what, lovers? Spouses? Across galaxies? We were one soul in two bodies until time fractured us. I wanted to laugh, but I didn't. Because even though everything in me screamed to reject her story, a part of me believed her. Not from logic, not from proof, but from the ache in my chest I hadn't noticed until she arrived. Later that day, while repairing one of my perimeter drones, I heard her singing. Just a single unfamiliar melody, soft, metallic, echoing from her like it came from a place deeper than lungs. When I asked her about it, she said something that froze my blood. It's the lullaby you wrote for me, the night before your last battle. I didn't argue, because I suddenly saw flashes, blades of memory I couldn't place, a hallway, a pulse of red alarms, my own voice screaming her name, the scent of ozone and fire, and her vanishing into light. It's strange how quickly silence changes shape. Before she came, silence was just noise I'd grown used to. The buzzing of power cables, the occasional screech of a wind current tugging at a rusted panel. My own breath echoing in the dome of my outpost. But now, with Velasa sitting across from me, that same silence felt like pressure. Like it carried questions neither of us knew how to ask yet. She hadn't slept, not once. I pretended not to notice. She'd sit for hours without moving, her eyes dimming just slightly, like a star dimming beneath clouds, but never shutting. Machines don't sleep, I guess. But I wasn't even sure if she was a machine. That was the problem. She looked human. Too human. Except when she didn't. Why don't I remember anything? I asked one morning, as I handed her a reheated packet of synth food. She didn't eat it, just cradled the steaming bag like it reminded her of something old and warm. Because the Vanquora protocol restructured your brainwave hierarchy. It didn't just suppress memories, it removed your context for accessing them. I squinted. Try that in civilian language. She tilted her head slightly. It's like someone ripped the library out of your mind, then scattered the alphabet. Oh, great. You can still feel the echoes. That's how I found you. You're telling me you tracked me down using memory echoes? Your emotional resonance signal never left me. I followed it here. I leaned back in my chair, arms folded. So I'm broadcasting lost lover energy into space now? She gave me the faintest smile. In a way, I didn't trust her. Not fully, not yet, but I was curious. Deep down, that's what drove me. Not hope, not fear, just the itch of what if. So that afternoon, while she helped weld a broken frame on a delivery drone, I ran a secret scan on her. Deep-level biosig mapping. Not something easy to pull off without her noticing, but I'd been hacking junk tech since I was 12. What I saw in the results made my heart skip. She wasn't just cybernetic. She was part organic, but not from this solar chain. Her cellular patterns were hexagonal, not spherical like Terran biology. Her blood didn't carry iron. It shimmered with trace amounts of liquimerc, a rare adaptive alloy used only in extinct war programs. Programs that were erased from public record. And at the very base of her spinal feed, a coded mark, not a number, a name. Velon, my name, carved into her like a seal. That night I confronted her. Why does your neural stamp bear my name? She didn't flinch. Because you gave it to me. When? In the year of the twin collapse, just before you were sent to breach the Glavan wall. You said if I ever lost myself, that name would bring me back. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it hurt, not to remember something that deep. I can't even remember what I had for lunch 3 days ago. And you expect me to believe I used to lead starship raids and give poetic names to cyborgs? I don't expect anything, she said gently. But truth doesn't care if we believe it. I hated how calm she was. Later that week, a trader ship named Harnix Blade passed overhead. They didn't dock. just buzzed low enough to transmit a signal. I picked up the pulse, barely encrypted. A bounty alert. Someone, somewhere, had put a live bounty on a rogue fusion-marked unit with unknown weaponry, last seen falling from orbit near Gora 7. Valasa. I looked at her across the room. She was quietly humming again. Same melody. Same voice that vibrated somewhere in the middle of my ribs. I turned off the comms. Didn't tell her. But I knew then. Whoever made her wants her back. And not for hugs. 2 days later, she collapsed. No warning. One moment she was standing helping align the solar panels. The next, she fell like a marionette with cut strings. I caught her just before her head hit the ground. Her body twitched violently, her left arm split open, literally panels separating to reveal a shimmering interior filled with nano-thread coils that sparked erratically. System fault, memory conflict, echo breach, she gasped. Her voice was layered, like two versions of her speaking slightly out of sync. And in that moment I saw it, a flicker. A fragment of memory, not my own, beamed into my brain like a flash grenade. We were standing on a battlefield. Stars burned above us like they were bleeding. I was taller, leaner, clad in obsidian armor marked with symbols I didn't understand. She stood across from me, but she was different too. Her face had scars. Her armor was cracked. She was crying, but no tears came. "If they erase you," she said, "I'll find you, even if I have to be rebuilt 1,000 times." I reached out and touched her face. "And if I forget you? Then I'll make you fall in love with me all over again." The memory vanished. The storm rolled in with red lightning. Gora 7 never had natural weather. Everything here was synthetic, coded in orbital patterns from satellites long abandoned. So when the clouds tore open with silent fury and the ground trembled like it was remembering something buried, I knew it wasn't just a storm. Valasa was already standing when I stepped out of the dome. She had no weapons, no armor this time. Just her, flawed, cracked, humming with a pulse I could feel in my teeth. "They're here," she said. "Who?" "Those who unmade you. The architects of the erasure." I didn't move. "What do they want now?" "To finish what they started." I felt it before I saw it. Vibrations in the earth like approaching stampedes. And then they appeared. 5 ships, black as vacuum, shaped like daggers. They didn't land. They hovered. From the central vessel descended a figure I instinctively hated. Too tall, too smooth, like a puppet, made from liquid steel and cruel intent. He didn't walk, he glided. And when he spoke, it wasn't in sound, it was in thought, stabbing directly into the core of my brain. "Yarrick Valan," the voice echoed. "You have breached containment." "I don't remember breaching anything," I replied aloud, fists clenched. Valasa stepped in front of me. "You don't touch him." "You failed. Unit 9XVL5, the voice replied. "The bond will be severed. Stand down." But she didn't. She launched. No warning, no hesitation. She leapt into the air like she was born in it. The sky lit up. The storm cracked open as Valasa collided with the descending figure. Their impact shattered the air, and I stood there, helpless, as she fought a being who seemed made of shadows and code. I couldn't move, not from fear, but from something deeper, recognition. I knew that thing, not his name, but his presence, like a scar I couldn't see but could feel, and then my mind snapped. Images rushed in, too fast to understand. Battlefields, screams, her voice, my voice, the words sundering repeated again and again. The sun exploding, me cradling Valasa as her core dimmed. "If they break us," I had said in one of the flashes, "we rebuild." "Even if I forget?" she'd whispered. "Then I'll find you in the silence," I had replied. The memory vanished, and I collapsed. I woke to chaos. The dome was half destroyed. Fires burned along the salvage yard. But Valasa was alive, barely. She was kneeling, chest heaving, wires torn from her side, sparks dancing across her ribs. But she was smiling. "You're remembering," she said. "Pieces," I whispered. She reached out a trembling hand and placed it against my cheek. "That's how the bond heals." I helped her inside. She resisted, always stubborn, but I overruled her, laid her on the workbench, grabbed every salvage-grade part I could find. "I'm not a tech medic," I warned. "You were once," she said, "before they broke you." Her systems were failing. The interface crystal behind her spine was fractured. I needed an identical replacement, but nothing like it existed here. "There's one place," she whispered. "The Vault of Mira." "That's a myth," I said. "So was I," she replied. The vault was said to exist beyond the no-drive zone, past the collapsed star fields of Sector Ven. No ships went there, because they didn't return. "How long can you survive like this?" I asked. 18 hours. Then I degrade. We'll need a ship. There's one, buried beneath this junkyard. Yours." That's when I remembered. The ship. I'd always thought it was a broken wreck. It had been hidden under rusted mining hulls and slagged cargo bays for as long as I'd been here. But she led me to it, limping, bleeding electricity with every step. The hull was still intact, and inside, my handprint still activated the systems. "What is this?" I asked. "This," she said, "was our escape plan. Before they rewrote you. We loaded what little gear we had." She fused herself to the nav system to stabilize. I sat in the pilot's seat and stared out at the dying planet I'd called home. I was leaving, for the first time in 9 years, because a girl from the stars had told me we had once loved, and that love still lived, fractured, bleeding, but burning. We lifted off, and I didn't look back. The ship sliced through the blackness like a needle through silk. Around us, the remnants of dead constellations glowed faintly, pulsing with the memory of long-forgotten wars. I sat motionless in the pilot's seat, fingers wrapped tightly around the controls I didn't remember learning to use, yet somehow could navigate instinctively. Valasa lay behind me, semi-conscious, her voice just barely above a whisper as she fed encrypted routes into the nav core. "Course set! Vault trajectory locked!" Her voice crackled with static. She was weakening fast. "Stay with me," I said, not looking back. "I need you awake. Your hands, you haven't flown in a decade, but look at them. Still know how to read stellar currents." "I don't want instincts," I muttered. "I want answers." She didn't reply. Her silence said enough. Time was killing her. Not time in the way it kills humans, slowly, gently, but with precision, like a countdown. I activated the internal diagnostic. Her life signatures were fading, threads unraveling. I felt helpless. This wasn't like fixing a busted drone. This was different. She wasn't just tech. She was something that shouldn't exist, and yet here she was, dying like she did. I didn't sleep. We crossed into the deadlight belt, a no-fly zone littered with the corpses of forgotten fleets. The sky here was heavy with broken satellites, abandoned cryopods, and hollow war beasts that still drifted with their cannons aimed at nothing. In the center of it, suspended above a blue dwarf star, was a floating hexasphere. It pulsed like a heartbeat. "That's the vault," she whispered. I stared. "It's not even connected to anything. It doesn't need to be." "And you're sure the part we need is there?" "No," she said, "but I'm sure you built it." My jaw clenched. That phrase again. You built it. I was starting to feel like I'd designed half the galaxy in another life. We docked on the edge of the sphere. No gravity, no sound, no visible entrance. But as soon as I touched the surface, the wall melted open. Inside was impossible. We stepped into a corridor where every wall was covered in light memories, holographic echoes of moments from my past life. There I was, shaking hands with men I didn't recognize. smiling at alien diplomats, kissing Velasa beneath a thunderstorm on a ship deck that didn't exist anymore. "This is—" I couldn't speak. "This is your library," she said. "Everything they tried to erase. It's all stored here." "Then why don't I remember it?" She looked at me. "Because you haven't accepted it." I walked forward, deeper. The corridor shifted as I moved, forming around my intent. I thought about pain, and the walls flashed scenes of battles, betrayals, gunfire. I thought about love, and suddenly we were standing in a circular chamber where a younger version of me knelt before her, placing a small glowing shard in her chest. "This," the hologram me said, "is yours. If I ever forget you, this will remember for both of us." Velasa reached to her chest in the present. "That shard is what's failing now. So where's the replacement?" The room responded. A pillar rose from the center. On it sat an identical crystal, pure, untouched, pulsing with low resonance. "That's it?" I asked. "Yes." "What's the catch?" She hesitated. "It's quantum bound. Once you activate it, your old identity, your erased self, will reawaken." I stared at the crystal. "And I won't be this anymore?" "You'll still be you," she said, "but you'll remember what they made you forget. All of it." My fingers hovered over the shard, and for the first time I truly hesitated. Not because I was afraid of the memories, but because I was afraid of who I used to be. What if I wasn't a good man? What if I'd done things I could never forgive? "You were kind," she said softly. "You were wild, angry, but kind. That's why I loved you." "And you're sure I loved you?" Her eyes glistened. "I was created to kill, but you made me choose." I closed my hand around the shard. It was warm. The moment I did, my vision exploded. My brain roared with color and sound. My body convulsed as images poured in like a dam breaking. My father's face, my first starship launch, Velasa laughing in zero gravity, the day I watched our homeworld burn because I failed to stop it. My screams echoed through the vault. I remembered everything. When I opened my eyes, I saw her not as a machine or a stranger, but as someone I had once held while dying, as someone I had begged to survive even if I didn't. "Yarek," she whispered. "Do you know me now?" I nodded. "I never stopped." We replaced the shard. Her body surged with renewed power. She didn't just stand, she rose. Her voice stabilized. Her eyes burned with starlight. "Then we don't run anymore," she said. "We make them pay." "We?" I asked. "You still want to fight with me?" She walked forward and kissed my forehead. "I didn't come across light years just to watch you fight." As we left the vault, alarms blared from our ship. We launched from the vault like a flame shot through frozen air. The enemy was already in pursuit, 6 cruisers painted in the dark emblems of the Virex Dominion, their engines purring with murderous calm. I sat in the pilot's seat, my hands steady, my memories now fused with the instincts I once thought were superstition. Velasa stood behind me, fused to the tactical console, her limbs gliding over controls with impossible grace. "They're not going to give us a warning," she said. "Why would they?" I replied. "They erased me, gutted you, and sent an entire fleet to clean up the mess. There's nothing to talk about." "Except revenge," she said. "Except justice," I corrected. "Let's show them what they failed to kill." The first cruiser opened fire, a pulse beam sharp enough to pierce planetary defense systems. But the vault's ancient tech wasn't just ornamental. Our ship, the Sarathion, responded like a creature born from light. It curved mid-space, engines coiling like a serpent, dodging the blast with atomic precision. "They're adapting," Velasa said. "We need to break formation." "Or break them," I muttered. I activated a command deep in the nav core, one I had never used but somehow remembered creating, Protocol NEMORIANRIFT. The ship pulsed, its body shifted. We vanished just for 2 seconds. but when we reappeared, we were behind them. You invented short-phase jumps? Velasa asked. I don't know. I just know we need to move. I targeted the lead cruiser and fired. The beam hit it straight through the rear thrusters. It didn't explode. It folded, crumpling in on itself like a dying scream. But the others learned. They spread out, forming a 6-point kill hex. A formation built for only one purpose: erase without trace. Velasa tapped into the ship's central AI. They're not just soldiers. These are engineered tacticians. Each one's a command node. Then we cut the signal, I said. She raised her arm and projected a map into the cockpit. The Nexus, Cradle Station, orbiting the ruined moon Velkorath, once a science colony, now a fortress with walls that bent light. That's their hive, she said. You destroy that, the fleet scatters. How far? 2 standard jumps. Then let's burn stars. We jumped. The enemy followed, but they weren't fast enough. I don't know if it was the ship or the way Velasa's presence pushed time into unfamiliar shapes, but we reached Velkorath first. I slowed the Sarathion to orbit speed, the vast shadow of Cradle Station looming ahead. You've seen this before, she whispered, in your nightmares. I had. I didn't know what it was until now, but every time I woke drenched in sweat, it was always this place, this metal monstrosity floating in silence, holding secrets behind every sealed door. I was here, wasn't I? You were their prize, she said, until you became their problem. We docked in the lower ring, where the shield matrix was weakest. No alarms, no resistance. Like they were waiting. The halls inside were white, not clean, sterile, like everything had been erased. Color, sound, humanity. We walked side by side. Velasa had changed. Her face was calm, but her steps carried weight. Her eyes glowed brighter than ever. What are you thinking? I asked. About how close I came to failing you, she replied. I stopped. You didn't. I almost did. And I almost forgot you. But we're both here now. So let's finish this. A figure stepped out from the shadows. Not a soldier, a scientist, or something close. Skin gray-blue, eyes flickering with data streams. Welcome home, Yarrick Vallon, he said, lips curling. You weren't supposed to remember. And yet, here I am. You were built to be brilliant, but your flaw was compassion. We corrected that. I took a step forward. You didn't correct anything. You stole it. You buried it. But it grew back. And look what it brought you, he gestured to Velasa. A pet who thinks she's more than code. Velasa didn't blink. Say that again, she said softly, and I'll show you how much of a pet I am. You were meant to obey, but instead, you chose him. She raised her arm. Her palm opened. A glowing pulse of compressed data spun like a blade in midair. We both chose, she whispered. She threw it. The man tried to phase, but the data spear caught him mid-step. He burst, not into blood, but into static and holographic ash. Synthetic decoy, I muttered. The real one's deeper in. We moved fast, through corridors filled with stasis tanks, hundreds of them, each holding another me. Variants, clones, scrapped versions with missing limbs, burned faces, hollow eyes. They were trying to rebuild you, Velasa whispered, piece by piece, but none of them loved me. You were never meant to be loved, a voice boomed from above. Lights shifted. The core chamber revealed itself, massive, circular. At the center, a suspended orb of fractured light, and in it, another version of me. Younger, stronger, hateful. Who are you? I asked. He laughed. I'm what you were supposed to become, before she made you weak. Velasa stepped forward. Weak? He tore down an empire for me. And we rebuilt him, the other me said, but never right. Until now. He activated the core. The orb trembled. Reality warped. I felt my bones scream. "This station runs on fractured identity," Velasa said. "He's fusing timelines. He's going to overwrite you." "Not if I do it first." I dove toward the interface. The false Yarrick surged forward. We collided. Mind to mind. Memory to memory. For a second, I saw everything. His hatred, his pride, his pain. And I showed him mine, my love, my loss, her voice, her touch, her choice. He screamed, the chamber cracked, the orb shattered, the whole station groaned. Velasa grabbed my hand. "We have to go." "Not yet." I ran to the core feed, plugged the data crystal from the vault into the stream, uploaded everything, my real memories, my truth, her identity, into every system, every feed, every Dominion channel. The world would know what they tried to bury. "Now," I said. We ran. The walls behind us crumbled. Cradle Station exploded behind us like a dying star. As the Sarathion surged through hyperspace, Velasa fell into the co-pilot seat. She was shaking. "We're free," she whispered. I looked at her. "No," I said. "Now we start the war." The universe didn't fall silent after Cradle Station's destruction. It roared. Systems that had long pretended the Dominion didn't exist now stirred. Pirate fleets decrypted the burst signal I embedded in their feeds. Hidden colonies, long exiled from star lanes, started lighting up again, flashing war symbols once banned under threat of planetary deletion. I hadn't planned to lead anything. I wasn't a leader. I was a man broken, rebuilt by a memory, and barely learning how to exist again. But every time someone reached out on an open frequency and whispered, "Velon, are you real?" I knew I had no choice. We became movement, myth, and proof that memories couldn't be erased if they were built on something stronger than data. I sat in the war room of a deep space mining rig, now converted into a rebellion stronghold. Around me were beings I once would have feared, mutated hackers from the Duskgate, silent warriors from the shattered world of Krenna, a child who spoke to machines with her thoughts. And at the center of it all was Velasa. She never took a title, never sat on the highest chair, but everyone followed her. Not because she demanded it, but because she radiated certainty when the rest of us were drowning in questions. "The Dominion is bleeding," she told the group. "Cradle's loss sent a fracture through their hierarchy, but they'll adapt unless we strike again." "Where?" a voice asked. I answered, "Where their ghosts sleep." I pulled up the star map and rotated it toward a faded corner near the edge of known space. "The Spark Citadel," I said. "It's not real," someone muttered. "It is," Velasa replied. "And it's where they keep the original schematics. Of everything. Their programs, their creations, even me." "You want to break into the place that birthed you?" "No," she said. "I want to end it." The vote wasn't unanimous. We lost 4 allies that night, too afraid of what a failed assault would cost. I didn't blame them. I wasn't even sure we'd survive, but we had no choice. If they rebuilt Cradle once, they'd do it again, better, stronger, smarter. Unless we tore out the root. We prepped for 7 days. The Sarathion was reinforced with scavenged tech from 6 wrecks. We added new weapons, new shields, and a neural drift engine stolen from a black site we never spoke about again. And when the time came, we didn't go quietly. We tore space open. The Spark Citadel wasn't on any standard nav chart. It existed half a dimension sideways, coiled in layers of anti-reality and recursive codes. Only Velasa knew how to find it, not because she was built with a map, but because part of her had never left. We crossed the veil with hearts locked in silence. The stars bent, our ship groaned, reality lost shape. And then we arrived. It didn't look like a citadel. It looked like a god had melted a planet and turned it into geometry. Walls moved, gravity laughed, time flowed in spirals. "Are you sure?" I asked her. "No," she replied, "but I'm certain." We landed inside a chamber shaped like a hollow heart. Statues lined the walls, statues of her, dozens of versions, some smiling, some weeping, some with blades for hands. "These are your sisters?" I asked. "No," she said. "These were failures. I was the last attempt, the only one who didn't break under the bond." We moved deeper. Every corridor reeked of memory, not mine, theirs. We felt eyes but saw none, and then we reached the central core, a suspended node of pure code wrapped in living crystal. "That's it," she whispered. "The origin." "What do we do?" "You walk forward," she said. "You speak your name." "That's it?" "If it listens," she said, "it will rewrite the Dominion. And if it doesn't?" She smiled. "Then we burn it." I walked toward the crystal. It shimmered, reflected versions of me, angry, empty, afraid. But I kept walking. "Yarek Velan," I said. "Born, broken, remembered." The crystal trembled. Light poured out. Voices screamed, not in rage, but grief. The walls shattered. The false history they'd coded fractured. Truth erupted. And in that moment, across hundreds of systems, Dominion outposts fell dark. Their ships halted. Their orders collapsed. Because the core had been overwritten by something they couldn't quantify. Memory built on love. Valasa stepped beside me, her hand in mine. "You did it." "No," I said. "We did." As we turned to leave, the chamber behind us began to fall apart. No alarms, no resistance, just quiet ending, like a ghost realizing it was never alive to begin with. The Dominion died without ceremony. No last message, no counter-strike, just silence. A silence deeper than space itself. Their empires collapsed like forgotten cathedrals, crumbling under the weight of lies too heavy to bear. Systems once enslaved to protocol codes began breathing on their own. Colonies disconnected for centuries flickered back online, and yet peace did not come with it. Because after the war, the real question remained. What did we become in the fire? I didn't return to Gora 7. The man I had been there was gone, the mechanic with no past, the ghost who tinkered in junk fields. That version of Yarek had been a shell, and the galaxy needed more than a shell. Valasa and I became symbols, unwilling, but necessary. Across systems, beings began wearing fragments of her design like badges. And my name, once whispered like a secret, turned into something else, a calling. But inside me, war still lived. Every memory that had returned came with scars. I remembered the choices I made, the people I failed, the cities I burned to save one person. And I remembered her face when I said goodbye the first time. Not the recent one. No, the one from years ago. The one etched into the memory fragment I hadn't dared access. Valasa was repairing an old comms relay when I finally told her. "I need to go back," I said. "Back where?" "Before the war, before Cradle, to the beacon on Vorath's moon. The one I left, when I thought we were lost." She said nothing. Just nodded. "If that memory still lives," she whispered, "then so does the promise." We took the Sarathion, now battle-scarred and slower, but still loyal. The Vorath beacon had once served as a fail-safe, a place where commanders like me could store truths too dangerous for any system to hold, buried under rock and encrypted in grief. When we arrived, the moon was silent. The beacon tower still stood, though barely. We landed, climbed, found the chamber sealed in rust. I opened it with my palm. The vault lit up, and then it played, a recording. My face, younger, rougher, speaking directly to the future. "If you're seeing this," it said, "then I failed, and I forgot. And if I forgot, then she's out there, still waiting. Don't let her wait alone." Valasa placed her hand on the wall beside me. "You remembered. You kept your promise," I said, "and so did I." We left the beacon behind, not as fugitives, not as warriors, but as survivors. The galaxy would rebuild. Without the Dominion, chaos would rise. But chaos could be shaped, and truth, once revealed, could not be buried again. Years passed. Our names faded from daily chatter. New leaders rose. New wars began, smaller, shorter. We watched from afar, never interfering unless they came too close to what we buried in the Citadel's ruins. We built a home on the edge of the spiral drift, a place with no name, a garden that never bloomed the same way twice. And when she sang, I remembered. Not just the battles, not just the past, but the promise that lived between the lines of everything they tried to erase. One night, beneath a sky we hadn't mapped, she said the words I'd waited entire lifetimes to hear. "You were never built to forget me." I held her hand. "And you were never programmed to leave." We kissed like it was the first time, or maybe the last. Maybe both. Because love like ours doesn't start or end. It breaks the cycle, rewrites the code, and becomes legend.